bring in CTV's Rachel Aiello, who's standing by in our bureau in Ottawa, following it all for us. So bring us up to speed here, Rachel. What's at stake, what the Conservatives are trying to do? Let's start there.
Hey, Todd. Yeah, love a morning when you've got to break out those procedural rule books to kind of figure out what's going on. So essentially, Conservative leader Poilievre has threatened that on Thursday, their next chance to bring an opposition motion, they will be moving a motion of non-confidence in Prime Minister Justin Trudeau if today, during an earlier vote on the carbon tax April 1st hike, he doesn't decide to change his mind. So what we are shaping up to have is this procedural parliamentary showdown over a matter of confidence. Now, as you alluded to, the Liberals do have a deal with the NDP on matters of confidence, which means that should a motion of non-confidence or on big supply issues like the budget, the NDP are supposed to give the Liberals the votes they need to stay in power. So we are anticipating that mechanism will be relied on here should the Conservatives make good on this threat on Thursday. But the procedural rule books do note that the government could potentially fall on a motion like this because they do consider this outright statement of a vote of non-confidence. Specifically, Todd, the rules say that explicitly worded motions which state the House has or has not confidence in the government is one of the three ways a confidence motion could be raised. Another one is that if the government says they consider a matter of confidence like going to war or on those big money bills like a budget. And just to remind everyone, specifically what the Conservative motion is calling for if they do advance it on Thursday is that the House declare non-confidence in the Prime Minister and his costly government, goes on to say, and call for the House to be dissolved so that Canadians can vote in a carbon tax election.
Interesting. Okay, so and tell me about the politics going on as well, because Pierre Poilievre has really been able to capitalize on anger or controversy surrounding the carbon tax and really understands that this is a wedge issue. This is an issue they can push the Liberals on as well. And you know, even if this doesn't pass, and we don't expect it will, of course, but you never know, it still sends a message, I guess, and kind of shapes what we expect will be, you know, a very, very difficult election for Justin Trudeau whenever that comes.
Absolutely. So Conservative leader Poilievre has really been centrally focused on this issue of the carbon tax. I believe the votes this week are votes number 29 and 30 of various attempts his party has made to try to raise the issue of the carbon tax in the House of Commons. Now, Todd, taking this step of moving a motion of non-confidence is certainly ratcheting up that rhetoric to a degree. And because we're looking at the dynamics of the Liberal NDP supply and confidence deal, it does raise the question of where do the Conservatives go from here? If this non-confidence motion fails, then what other mechanisms do they have to continue to pressure the government on this? Certainly they will continue to, but to take this extreme step of moving a motion of non-confidence on this issue, to me kind of reads like it's the break in case of emergency motion. So if they pull this now, are we just going to see them continually making the House of Commons go to the brink, these motions of non-confidence repeatedly, or how else do they continue to signal in the House their discontent with the Prime Minister's insistence on keeping this price on pollution?
Based on what you know of Jagmeet Singh and the New Democrats, Rachel, I mean, why would they side with the Conservatives on this?
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch today, Todd, because there is a motion specifically from the Conservatives on whether or not that April 1st hike should come. There has been a past Conservative carbon tax oppo motion that the NDP did back. So we'll be watching to see how that vote shapes out today. But on another topic, the Liberals are still really working to try to make that two-party deal last. Later today, we're expecting to get electoral reform legislation satisfying a key part of that two-party deal. So certainly the NDP continue to say that they are making gains, making that agreement work for Canadians by securing various progressive policy planks. Another one of those is expected to come through later today. So there is that element of the government continuing to make good. So I do suspect the NDP will be keeping that in mind heading into this Thursday vote.
Possible to call this whole thing something of a success for the Conservatives already, Rachel, because we're talking about it, media are talking about it, even if this motion really goes nowhere.
It's definitely a strategy from the Conservatives to try to continue to ratchet up their level of opposition to this, and taking this degree in a minority parliament here in Parliament where anything can happen sometimes. It's certainly a tactic, and I think the Conservatives feel buoyed by the growing resistance to the carbon tax, or at least this April hike across the country. The motion references 70% of premiers, Conservative and Liberal, are now showing resistance to this. So certainly I think Poilievre is riding that momentum through the House of Commons, and as we're talking about it here, onto Canadians' television screens.
There we go. Rachel Aiello in Ottawa, our eyes and ears as we follow this latest strategy by the Conservatives. Thanks for this, Rachel. Great stuff as always.